corruption around it, the lack of discourse, the vulgarity. That's what people objected to. And that goes to the man. And that man goes out of office on Wednesday. But don't for a second think that the conservative agenda of those policies will go too. And that's Quest's Business for tonight. I'm Richard Quest in New York. Whatever you're up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. See you tomorrow.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper, and we begin today with the 45th president, final 44 hours in office. The disgraced and twice impeached President Trump will soon leave Washington, D.C. He leaves Washington with the lowest approval rating for a first-term president since scientific polling began. And that historical achievement is earned. Trump is leaving as the city here continues to struggle with the virus he failed to contain. He is leaving with parts of the city looking like a war zone because of threats of violence he incited and lies he spread. We have long since passed a peaceful transition of power. There are dead bodies as a result of the president's deranged belief that he won the election that he lost, and the conspiracy theories that he and his enablers on Capitol Hill and in MAGA media continue to propagate. So this is what the transition of power looks like in America in 2021, at the end of the Trump era. Some 25,000 members of the National Guard protecting the Capitol, all because of the fear that other Americans, President Trump's supporters, will harm their fellow Americans. Some of them far-right extremists with whom President Trump has been playing footsie for years. Others radicalized by lies pushed by President Trump and the MAGA political media ecosystem. The threat of extremism is so serious that even members of the National Guard are currently being vetted to make sure there won't be an insider attack from those tasked with protecting the inauguration. But on noon Wednesday, 2 weeks after the Capitol Hill siege, the terrorist attack, a week after President Trump was impeached for his role in inciting that terrorist attack, a new chapter will begin at the U.S. Capitol as President-elect Biden takes the oath of office. And we see the wake of the carnage that President Trump spoke of 4 years ago at his inaugural. Carnage that he ended up unleashing on our Capitol, on our nation. It threatened his own vice president's life. But as CNN's Caitlin Collins reports, on his way out the door, President Trump is still able to do more damage, and we're all waiting to see just whom he will pardon.
Before leaving office Wednesday, President Trump is planning a pardoning spree as one of his final acts. Sources say Trump is expected to grant clemency to nearly 100 people after an intense lobbying campaign by former administration officials, political allies, and old family friends. The president met with top aides yesterday to review the final list, as some advisors are urging him not to pardon those involved in the attack on the U.S. Capitol.
To seek a pardon of these people would be wrong. It would be, I think it would destroy President Trump, and I hope we don't go down that road.
Trump hasn't appeared in public in 6 days, but moving trucks from a D.C.-based company were spotted at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach today as another reminder that he has less than 48 hours left in office. Trump still hasn't spoken to President-elect Joe Biden and will skip his inauguration Wednesday in favor of a military-style send-off ceremony at Joint Base Andrews, where Trump is expecting a red carpet rollout and adoring crowd to bid him goodbye. But his second impeachment trial will still loom over the city long after he's gone from Washington. Rudy Giuliani was seen at the White House Saturday, but says he won't serve on Trump's defense team because he told ABC News this speech that he gave at the rally before the Capitol attack could make him a potential witness.
So, let's have trial by combat.
Trump has blamed Giuliani for his second impeachment, and outside advisors like Karl Rove are warning that if he defends the president, Republicans could very well vote to convict him.
I think it really boils down to what's the defense that the president is going to make, and if it's Rudy Giuliani's defense, I think it raises the likelihood of more than 17 Republicans voting for conviction.
snub of Joe Biden is not just between the two of them, it also extends to the first ladies, because we are told that Melania Trump has not reached out to Joe Biden. There is no tour of the residence, as you often see first ladies give to their successors. And so that means that on Wednesday, typically you would see President Trump and Melania Trump be the ones to greet the Bidens as they got to the White House. But my colleague Kate Bennett is told that they are instead going to be greeted by the chief usher, because of course the Trumps will be on their way to Florida by the time they arrive.
As gracious and classy as ever. Caitlin Collins, thanks so much. In our national lead, the FBI, U.S. Army, and Secret Service are now vetting the men and women you see here. National Guard troops sent from all over the country to protect Washington, D.C. during the inaugural. They're being screened to make sure that none of them pose any insider threats ahead of the inauguration. The enhanced screening comes as the New Yorker magazine releases chilling new video of the attack on January 6th. As CNN's Alex Marquardt reports, authorities are doing everything they can to prevent yet another attack. A quick warning to our viewers, some of the language and abhorrent behavior in this video is quite disturbing and occasionally graphic.
The streets of Washington, D.C. today clearly making the point this has not been a peaceful transfer of power, as a new fear is growing that National Guard troops, whose numbers may climb to 25,000, could include potential insurgents. The Army is working with the Secret Service and FBI to identify and screen anyone who could be an insider threat.
What happens is they're screened before they leave their state, and what it is a credentialing process. So they're screened, and then they're repeatedly screened until they are actually put on the street.
There's growing evidence of current and former military and law enforcement among the insurrectionists at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, including Larry Rendell Brock, a retired Air Force reservist, lieutenant colonel, seen here in new video from The New Yorker.
It's a PR war, okay? You have to understand it's an IO war.
The video showing remarkable moments from the start of the rioting.
We're outnumbered. There's a million of us out there, and we are listening to Trump. You're the boss.
To the Senate floor, where rioters rifled through desks and papers, one saying that Texas Senator Ted Cruz would approve.
I think Cruz would want us to do this, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the man in the horns, Jacob Chansley, writing a note where Vice President Mike Pence had just sat, reading,
It's only a matter of time. Justice is coming.
Justice is indeed coming for them and for dozens of others who have been arrested, including Riley Williams from Pennsylvania. Court records indicate that the FBI is looking into whether a laptop from Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office was stolen to potentially sell to Russia. And federal investigators say an Army reservist with secret-level security clearance has also been charged. According to court documents, federal investigators say that Timothy Hale Cusinelli is an avowed white supremacist and Nazi sympathizer with a long record of extremist postings online. Fears of more pro-Trump terrorist violence have turned the nation's capital into a fortress with miles of fencing, often topped with razor wire. The National Mall, usually full of people celebrating, now closed, streets blocked and guarded by thousands of National Guard from across the country.
I think this will be an inauguration unlike any other.
So that National Mall will, of course, be empty, but members of Congress will be in attendance at the inauguration, Jake, and they are allowed to bring guests. And we've just learned that the guests of members of Congress will not have to be subjected to background tests. Now, that is standard practice, but it is rather surprising this year given the heightened security posture. They will, however, have to be tested for COVID. And given how tight things are, of course, they will be going through security before they get close to that inauguration stage. Jake?
All right, Alex Marquardt, thanks so much. Joining us now, CNN national security analyst Juliette Kayyem, also a former assistant secretary at the Department of Homeland Security under Obama. Juliette, let me just ask you about the reporting we just heard from Alex. What do you think about the idea that they're not going to do background checks on guests of members of Congress? We're in a situation right now where there are a lot of not only Democrats, but some Republicans, too, who are very suspicious of some of their Republican House colleagues in terms of what their relationships are with the insurrectionists or terrorists. Do you think that it's okay just to trust members of Congress? They're not going to bring anybody crazy to the inaugural.
Well, it's not okay anymore, but I would suspect, just having been in that scrum before, that they are saying that because they want to have elected officials be able to bring family or friends. But there are particular congressional people whose guests will be more vetted than not. So because they have the names, they have the date of birth, they can do that relatively quickly.